Happy Monday to you all. Welcome into another edition of the PHNX D-Backs podcast right here on PHNX. Bang! All right. It's the drum solo goes crazy. Of course, I am your mayor of PHNX, occasionally as Derek Montilla. This man next to me is my vice mayor, occasionally known as your thunderstick, Jesse Friedman. We were out there today for another wonderful, beautiful spring training game. Happy birthday, by the way, to our friends at CHGO. We spent the day in honor of your birthday watching your Chicago White Sox. We know that's your favorite team up there.
They're the biggest team in Chicago.
They are the darling of that city for sure. But we definitely have more information on the Diamondbacks signing of Elvis Andrus. And obviously we have a bit more of a discussion on Eduardo Rodriguez and if it's time to panic about his spring training outings. But before we get to that, we did have updates from today and we have good news. The good news is Ketel Marte is absolutely raking. The man's bat feeds families, and so far it has done that this spring. Ketel is hitting over 600. Well, he's hitting 600 right now with a 1.534 OPS so far this spring, and he just looks very comfortable. He looks very nonchalant. He also absolutely cruised down the first baseline on a walk.
He did. Yes.
It was great. It's great to see the speed is back when he walks for sure. But Ketel talked about feeling great today. We have some more from him here on how he felt and kind of how they were just playing baseball in the World Series like 2 months ago, and he's just still in the groove.
Nothing different. We just finished the World Series like 3 months ago. My body feel great. I'm healthy right now, so nothing surprised me out there. I'm in my offense, and then we're working hard to be that kind of player I am right now.
Nothing is surprising him out there, that's for sure.
Yeah, I mean, Ketel went 1 for 2 today, and his batting average went down. So he is now only hitting 600.
He's like
in
645
the Cactus
earlier in
League.
the day or something like that. Yeah,
he's been really locked in since Cactus League play began. And again, we're not really reading into these results too much.
We're going to overreact to everything today, positively and negatively. That's the way this works. It's spring training.
A really big part of Ketel's game is health. And whether his body is in good shape and whether the hamstring is good and all that stuff. And it appears to be. You heard him say there that he's feeling healthy, and he looks just as locked in as a few months ago he was the NLCS MVP.
And Joc Pederson talked about that because he brought it up twice today in the clubhouse, and he talked about how you're literally working on your health in a way because it's the most important thing. You can't get injured or you can't miss time during this period of time. You also tend to want to do more, right? Especially if you're a guy that is fighting for a position, fighting for playing time at this point, right? You want to try to impress, but at the same time, all these guys, pitchers aren't the only ones that have to ramp up. All these guys have to kind of ramp up. So I feel like a careful balance is holding yourself back a bit and making sure that you stay healthy and you get your body just slowly ready for this 162 game season. Ketel brought that up. That's the first thing he said was 162 games. It's a long season, and right now the results really don't matter. We don't really care too much about Eduardo Rodriguez and his 15.75 ERA, but it's still something that some of these guys do have to worry about. Obviously, when it comes to the starting rotation, there's still that spot that Tommy Henry, Ryan Nelson, other guys are competing for. So there is something for them to be playing for and to be coming out every day. Tommy Henry wasn't great today. He wasn't really helped by Joc Pederson's defense in the outfield very much, but Tommy Henry basically said that he was having trouble with his fastball command.
Yeah, it wasn't a great outing for Tommy Henry. I think 2 1/3, 6 hits, 3 runs, a couple of walks in this game for him as well. Yeah, fastball command is kind of the primary thing that he pointed to. Torey Lovello called this a grinder for him, which I think is a pretty appropriate way to describe it. And yeah, this doesn't mean that Tommy Henry is now buried in the competition
Right.
for the fifth
It's
starter
over for him.
spot
It's
or
a wrap.
anything.
It's done. He's done.
It does, yeah. It doesn't mean too much at this point, but it is a reminder that spring training is long and longer than it needs to be, according to many people. But it is long, and there's a lot. There's still a lot more outings to come for him and for Ryan Nelson and Slade Ciccone and the other guys who have a shot at this fifth starter spot. So yeah, I don't think it was ever a done deal that the spot was Tommy Henry's. I still think he's the front runner even after today. But yeah, it wasn't a great day for him overall.
And this is more realistic, right? Like Tommy Henry is not going to go out there and shut out the opposition every time he pitches. And usually it's about consistency, right? This is why Tommy Henry isn't up there right now as one of the best pitchers in the organization. Same thing with Ryan Nelson and lots of guys. They can go out there and shove for a couple of games, and then they kind of have a game like this and maybe a couple of games like this in some occasions. But it is important for Henry right now. And this is what he talked about a little bit about, like, obviously keeping things in perspective and, just going out there and trying to work on essentially when you're not able to have that fastball command, work on finding it throughout the course of the game. And this is what he had to say about that.
Not as good today as in previous outings, which I think is, a partial lead to the result. I was in, their favor of counts for the most part today. And, it's a hard place to pitch from for the most part. You can get away with it sometimes, but if you're looking for consistent results, you got to be ahead. And we didn't do that today.
Is that something that you can tell while you're out there what's causing it to go wrong? Or do you have to, in the next few days, break down the video and see what you were doing differently?
No, for the most part, I mean, you're aiming to self-correct out there because you want to correct it in between pitches as soon as you can. So I kind of worked down my checklist of different cues that I've been working on based off of the feels and the results. I'm looking for all that feedback, and so you're going down that checklist trying to make the correct adjustment in between pitches so you're back on track.
How did that process go today? Did you feel better as you went along?
Yeah, the fastball command I felt like was better as it went on. I don't think it was as good as it has been, in the weeks previous, but, it started to trend better towards the end of the outing, and, I'll take that as a win.
Now, he didn't start today. Brandon Pfaadt got the start today. Is there anything? And Brian Nelson isn't starting either. It seems like Henry and Nelson.
Brian Nelson is starting tomorrow, I believe. So he's still in there. But yeah, I wouldn't read into Tommy Henry pitching on back of Brandon Pfaadt. It's just at this point the Diamondbacks have too many guys to be able to cycle through everyone and keep them on their normal rest. So it's just kind of necessary to bring somebody in back of someone else, and Tommy Henry's that guy.
What were your thoughts on Brandon Pfaadt today?
He was all right. I thought he looked better than the last time. Last week in Goodyear, he made his Cactus League debut and looked a little rusty, which again is not something I'd be concerned about. Today he was better. He was landing his sweeper in the zone a little bit, got some called strikes, a little bit of swing and miss. I thought it was a step in the right direction. Neither very good nor very bad.
You asked him about his changeup.
I did, yeah. I think Pfaadt's changeup is really important. This is something that Torey Lovello had mentioned at the beginning of camp as being kind of an off-season focal point for Brandon Pfaadt, trying to get that pitch to be more consistent. We all know about the sweeper and the incredible outpitch that has been for him, especially in the playoffs. It was outrageous. But in the playoffs, you also saw his changeup at times. You saw his changeup be really effective, especially against the Phillies, right. some of their left-handed hitters,
especially the aggressive nature of those hitters. And in the playoffs, I felt like his stuff really played well against batters that are anxious, they're out there trying to.
The Phillies have a few of those.
Yeah,
yes.
right. And so they did that felt like why it worked especially well for him. But he also talked about how that changeup is necessary to set up that slider, and this is what he had to say today about the changeup.
Yeah, it's good. That was a focal point last year and this offseason, just kind of being consistent with the slider and helping out the slider. And I think that's the key pitch to both righty and lefties for that slider to be more effective. And that's what we thought, and that's what we worked on. and it felt good today.
I mean, that changeup could be really useful to his arsenal, and especially, like you said, setting up those other pitches. But
yeah, sweepers are really good out pitches to righties, like really, really good in some cases. And I think Fox is already outstanding against righties. But having another out pitch against lefties is really important. So that's why I think the change, like if Brandon Pfaadt is going to become like a number 2 starter, like if he's going to take another leap forward, I think it's going to have to be because his changeup just became a more consistent, more effective pitch.
I want to say he seems different in camp this year, but he doesn't, because this is how Brandon Pfaadt is. Like my first impression of him was that he was a guy that has been doing this for a very long time. Like, and then, you know, especially once we got into the playoffs and we started talking to his family and people that have known him, they've just said he's always been like this. He's always been very calm under pressure. He's always been able to, just kind of be this way. But it's just, it does feel very interesting as far as Pfaadt's position this year versus Pfaadt's position last year, right? So, like, he wasn't even like a Tommy Henry or Ryan Nelson that was like fighting for a spot. He was more like one of these guys that, he was
like allegedly fighting for a spot,
right?
But I'm pretty sure he could have thrown 4 like no hitters, and it wouldn't have mattered at the end of the day. Right. But he wound up getting his opportunity before too long.
Yep. Speaking of getting an opportunity, Joc Pederson got an opportunity today out there in left field. And I'm not sure if I ever want to see him out there again. Things weren't great.
We've heard, Joc talked up Dave McKay and called him the GOAT of base running and outfield coaches, which I think is pretty fair from everything that I've heard. But, at the end of the day, Joc Pederson being an effective outfielder is not just all about Dave McKay. It's not just all about the technique that he can learn. At the end of the day, it takes a certain amount of athleticism to be a good, even corner outfielder in this league.
Honestly.
And it doesn't look, it was only like a few plays today. He did make one nice play. I sense that he made it look a little more difficult than it might have looked for other guys. But yeah, there was one ball that popped in and out of his glove. There was another where he made a diving attempt and he wound up kind of kicking the ball. So yeah, it didn't look great. And I am not so sure that he has the athleticism needed to be an even average corner outfielder.
It's the wild thing about it is it's no knock to him personally, because we saw it all over the place today. We saw Andres Chaparro hit a home run and then all of a sudden have a problem on like kind of a screaming grounder that wasn't an error by any stretch of the imagination, but was a ball that you would normally see Christian Walker effortlessly grab. And maybe I'm giving Christian Walker too much credit there. It just
that's hard to do.
Well, when you see guys like struggle with like a screaming line drive or something like that, and then you realize how easy someone like Walker or Ketel make it look to just
especially Walker.
Smoothly pick it up.
If once you've watched Christian Walker play first base for like a decent number of games, your eyes eventually adjust, and you just expect like an exceptional performance level from all first basemen,
right?
And that's just not everyone can live up to that bar.
We've immediately seen that when they've like had Emmanuel Rivera playing over there. All of a sudden, you're like, wait, hold on, that's a hard play to make. I thought that was easy. I mean, Christian Walker makes that look easy, right? But again, Joc's not here for his left field, play. That's not what he's here for.
Yeah,
he's here
for
the
thing. He is not.
He's not. He's here for the vibes. That's what he's here for. And the vibes are immaculate at spring training because Joc has been driving his Tesla Cybertruck.
Yeah, this
bad boy. He's been bringing this guy to camp. That's an alpha move.
I saw it in the parking lot at Camelback Ranch today. It is real.
You saw it. He's like, it's there. It's real.
This is the Tesla,
sun shines on.
Right?
It is a Tesla. Yes.
Okay.
It's a Tesla.
I believe these cost like
a lot,
like $300,000 or something like that.
God, I hope he didn't spend that kind of money on this. I really hope he didn't, but maybe he did.
Can I just say that if cars really look like this in the future, like if this is like your average looking car, I'm gonna be sad. Like that. It doesn't. I don't know. I don't like it.
It looks exactly like what someone that grew up in the 90s at 10 years old would make into a futuristic looking truck.
Yeah, right. It's
it
kind
looks
of
like it comes
your
out of Demolition Man or one of those kind of quirky sci-fi movies from the early 90s or late 80s. And yeah, I don't know.
It's like a military vehicle or something.
It's what's wild is I
unnecessary.
remember someone like I think it's supposed to be bulletproof glass and like they hit it at a demonstration with like a baseball bat.
It's
the
supposed
glass
really
shattered.
bulletproof glass.
Yeah.
Like why do we need that?
He has children. He has to protect them. That's a silly question, Jesse. But Tori had his thoughts on Joc's Cybertruck, and this is what Tori had to say about it.
Yeah, it looked like it was a futuristic car, right? I was behind it the other day, and where were we? In Anaheim. I'm like, what is that car, and who's going to get out of it? And it was Joc. It's beautiful.
Did that surprise you that it was Joc?
No,
Yeah,
not
the
at all.
hoverboard, the Cybertruck.
Yeah. He said the thing's unbelievable. So I've never seen one before.
Joc hops out of that. He hops right onto a hoverboard, and he just futures his way right into the clubhouse. That's incredible.
You think they'd allow him to bring the hoverboard into left field? Might help.
Now,
I mean,
now
maybe,
we're talking.
Maybe that
I
would
do
change his
wanna see
fortunes
Joc
in left field a little bit. I don't know.
Let him ride the hoverboard in left field. Well, as much fun as we're having with our most recent free agent, well, not most recent because we just signed Elvis Andrus today, but or this weekend, but Matt Chapman signed a late night deal with the San Francisco Giants. 3 years, $54 million with opt-outs after 2024 and 2025 and a mutual option for a fourth year. Not great, Jesse. Not happy about that. The Giants already look like they were coming together. They've already made some key additions that are going to make them a much improved team from last year. And now it really does feel like this is kind of putting them over the edge a little bit as a playoff contender.
Yeah, we'll see. I still don't look at the Giants and think their roster screams 90 wins or anything like that, but it makes them more interesting for sure. Matt Chapman is an excellent defender at third base. He just won another Gold Glove. He had a very uneven year offensively where he was like the best hitter on the planet in April, and then he didn't really hit much the rest of the season, but still kind of continued to hit the ball very hard. So yeah, he's an interesting player. I think he's kind of a funny fit with the Giants because first of all, it's not exactly a great place to get right offensively. That ballpark, not great for hitters.
That's true.
And I also think it's kind of funny that like the Giants prototype like seems to be guys who hit like their slash line is like 230, 325, 420. Like that, like it feels like every player who's played for the Giants in the last 5 years was like right around those numbers. And that's like exactly where Matt Chapman was last year. So, but he does have his ceiling is higher than a Michael Conforto or a Mike Yastrzemski at this point. He really can be a good player.
Is this less than you thought you would see him get?
Because
it feels like it's less both in years and in dollar amount.
Yeah, I think Scott Boras took another L, Derek. This is not what I had anticipated for Matt Chapman.
Yeah, well, it's still a lot of money. $20 million in 2024, then 18 and 25 and 16.
He has the opt-outs. So right. I guess the idea is that, if he comes out and has a really good year where he's good offensively for a longer period of time, then he can just opt out and then, hit the market again next offseason. But even with the opt-outs, this is still, a $54 million guarantee for Matt Chapman is about half of honestly what I expected it to be. Yeah. I also think it's interesting. He was worth 3.5 wins above replacement last year on Fangraphs. You know what Eugenio Suarez was worth? 3.2. Very, very similar. And granted, a lot of that is because Suarez's OAA numbers last year were really, really good. A lot of that value actually came from his defense. But yeah, maybe they're not so different in 2024.
Giants did save some money there. I feel like, but they lose their number 54 draft pick. Is that right? Why is that?
Yeah, it's because of the qualifying offer thing. He was offered the qualifying offer, and so whatever team signs him loses, forfeits a draft pick as a result.
All right.
And you can only do that once, so that the Giants wouldn't be able to do that again if he were to opt out. So they're going to lose this draft pick, and they're not going to be able to get it back whenever this deal does end.
Well, that's not the only addition the Giants are making, because according to reports, Madison Bumgarner wants to make a comeback.
I did see that today.
Yeah.
I did come across that in my Twitter feed.
For the Giants.
Was it specifically for the Giants?
I don't
Is
care.
that what it said?
I want it to happen for the Giants. I specifically want it to happen for the Giants. It was
they just signed Pablo Sandoval, right? So, I mean, we might as well go full on back to 2014. Maybe Buster Posey wants to come out of retirement.
He could also have a reunion with Nick Ahmed, who's part of the San Francisco Giants. It could end up being their everyday shortstop, as we talked in the past. But according to a recent story from Bob Nightingale, Nick Ahmed, he is not too happy with the Arizona Diamondbacks. He, in fact, said in the article that he could not bring himself to watch a single pitch of the Diamondbacks playoff run with the way that things ended. And I just want to say that's very relatable to me. Like, I know that a lot of people probably hear that and it sounds petty or it sounds some kind of way. I probably wouldn't have been able to do that either. Like that's hard. That's a hard thing to stomach, to watch the team you were on go off and have an incredible run in the playoffs and make it all the way to the World Series. I can understand that.
Yeah, if I were Nick Ahmed, I'd probably want no part of watching. I mean, it doesn't even matter so much that the Diamondbacks were the team that got there. Like if I'm a guy who just got cut from my team and I'm kind of trying to figure out what's next, I don't know how much I really want to watch the full MLB postseason. That's at that point too. Yeah. But yeah, I mean, looking at some of the quotes here from Nick Ahmed, this is a good story from our friend Bob Nightingale over at USA Today. Ahmed said, I was just trying to distance myself with it. You build a bond and a relationship with a lot of people, but there's hard feelings, obviously, towards the organization, how things ended. I mean, he just came out and said that there are hard feelings. And it seems like he wasn't so happy with the lack of communication through that process. He said that he felt he was blindsided. He wasn't expecting this to happen, and his family was actually flying to Chicago when he got this news, ready to meet him there.
That was heartbreaking.
So the timing there was pretty terrible.
They had to turn back around in the airport and come back to Phoenix. There's a lot of things about this that sucks. And he, of course, he said he felt blindsided. But as some people have pointed out, with the way that the organization was going, it wasn't like they were shying away from making these kind of tough decisions. So. I don't know what kind of communication there could be, but it would seem kind of like a threat to come to you and tell you ship up or shape up or ship out kind of thing.
Yeah, right? I don't have a great understanding of how these situations are normally handled, but it doesn't feel like you should be giving players tons of notice if they're about to get cut, or if you don't pick things up, where I don't really think that would serve players well to kind of threaten them in that way. So yeah, I feel like at least part of this is Nick Ahmed maybe not being fully aware of the situation and the reality that he really wasn't performing well, especially against left-handed pitching, which is really the thing that he was, kind of his primary task last year.
How could you not be aware of that?
Yeah.
You're hitting 212.
There's some validity to that for sure.
He had no plate discipline last year. He lost all ability to discern off-speed pitches with 2 strikes. I mean, I feel for the guy with the playoff run, and he was here for so long, but I just don't know how much opportunity he's reasonably supposed to be given when he's the longest tenured player in the history of the organization. Yeah. And he's not close to the best player in the history of the organization.
I think that's part of it.
He's gotten every opportunity.
It's like any job,
it's unfortunate.
Right? The longer you stay at a job, the longer you think you're kind of going to be there forever, and you forget that at any point, you could be replaced at any point. They could move on from you. You do feel comfortable because it's the place you call home. I don't know how he would have reacted to essentially being benched and riding the pine throughout most of the postseason behind Geraldo Perdomo, and how that would have impacted things. And I mean, he might have just been as equally unhappy doing that, but it would have been different because I think you're still on the team. You still feel like you contribute. It sucks that it ended this way, and it sucks that he feels this way. It really does. It sucks because, like you said, Damon, he's the longest tenured Diamondback, right? I mean, he's definitely a guy that, you wanted things to end better with, but unfortunately that's the business side of things.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, to be totally fair to Nick, I think it is valid to view the decision the Diamondbacks made as a mistake, frankly. Jordan Lawler came up and really struggled.
Yeah.
I mean, his at-bats were not good. He did not look ready. The Diamondbacks were clearly not comfortable playing him really in any capacity in the postseason, whereas, I'm not saying that Nick Ahmed would be like pinch hitting for a big at-bat in the 8th inning or anything if he had still been with the team, but I think the team at least would have been comfortable, if he were subbed in defensively or whatnot, whereas they really weren't comfortable with Jordan Lawler in really any situation in the playoffs. So I think it was probably, arguably a mistake that the Diamondbacks made.
Yeah.
They've really talked up the experience that Jordan Lawler got through that, and I understand that perspective, but there's also a flip side where you kind of shake a young player's confidence a little bit when you bring them up and they're not really ready for it yet.
And again, you have no idea how much Nick's, experience could have helped them off the bench or in certain situations where Jordan Lawler did not find success, right? He just was not very good at the plate. So, but again, it sucks. It all sucks. It's unfortunate. But we move on. And now Nick Ahmed, it's fitting because it feels very much like he is against us, and he is literally against us now as a member of the San Francisco Giants. So it's gonna be a crazy year. And that National League West, it's crazy to think that the Padres have somehow sunk down to being one of the worst teams in the NL West, and they're really still not, right? Like, this division's going to be insane this season, and I'm not thrilled about how much better the Giants got. Obviously, none of us are thrilled about how much better the Dodgers got, but the Giants definitely got substantially better this offseason.
Yeah. I mean, it's kind of there's the Dodgers, and then there's the 3 teams clustered in the middle, and then there's the Rockies at the bottom. So calling the Padres like one of the worst teams in the NL West, it almost like doesn't do justice to like how poor the Colorado Rockies are.
Yeah, that's fair.
You can't lump it.
You're giving the Rockies too much credit by calling the Padres one of the worst teams in the National League West.
Correct. Yes.
Yeah, that's what we do around here. Well, we thank you guys for being here in the PHNX Sports YouTube channel. Of course, if you haven't subscribed to the channel yet, what are you waiting for? Do it right now. Sign up for notifications. That way you don't miss when any of our shows go live. Shane's back. That's exciting. So who knows where Shane's going to pop up around these parts. Make sure to get down on bets. Damon finally gets to nap. Damon finally gets some
Kick
time
my
off.
feet up.
Oh, it's going to be great.
Maybe drink a pina colada like Derek in the Bahamas.
A little rum floater on top and a little rum floater on the bottom for sure. Of course, if you drop us a like, we always appreciate that. And if you're listening on the audio podcasting side, we love our listeners. Make sure you're subscribed over there on your favorite audio podcasting app and leave us a review. We always love that feedback. Unless you're Tim, who said I look like I'm 20 years older overnight. That's not the kind of feedback I ever want. Empire Today, by the way, Empire Today, they're the kind of place that you need to go if you want to make your home look 20 years younger. Check out Empire Today. You can shop with their at-home convenience. They'll get you the right product for your needs. They'll have quick and professional installation, and of course a price match guarantee. So you don't have to worry about shopping around. You don't have to worry about possibly committing yourself to flooring that is higher than you're going to get somewhere else. Empire Today is the best place to get new flooring. So of course they have copycats out there, but don't forget that they service their own warranties, and they have their virtual home floor designer, which will allow you to see how any flooring will look in any space in your home. Schedule a free in-home estimate today. All listeners can receive $350 off when they use the promo code PHNX. Restrictions do apply. See empiretoday.com/PHNX for details. I almost ran out of gas on the way over here, by the way. We had a long drive. I played that game sometimes.
That long?
It's a long drive from Camelback Ranch, and my light came on, told me I needed gas. Probably wrote it out a little too long.
Wait, when did the light come on? Was the light on when you started driving away?
No, but the light did come on shortly after that. Did I have time to stop at a gas station? Sure, but those gas stations were too expensive, and I had to stop at a Circle K. You should too, because if you do, you'll save all sorts of money on gas. If you join their Inner Circle program for free by downloading the Circle K app today, you can save 25 cents off per gallon on your first 5 fill-ups, and then 3 cents off per gallon every day after that. Terms and conditions apply at participating locations. Visit CircleK.com for details. Those deals do stack, so if you have their Easy Pay card, for instance, you can make sure you get that, and you get the other discounts. You get 10, 25, 35 cents off per gallon off their already low gas, plus all sorts of freebies in the app. So make sure to download that and keep an eye out for all their coupons and all the free things they give you. They just love giving you gifts in the Inner Circle app. So check that out today over at Circle K. Well, we're already 33 minutes deep. This is gonna be a 2-hour episode, but of course, it doesn't matter that it's March now. It doesn't matter because every month on this show is still Black History Month on this show. Every month on this show is Women's History Month on this show, and every month on this podcast is Black Women's History Month. Every single week is Shark Week. Every single day is Earth Day. But on Mondays, Mondays are special. On Mondays, we go to the mailbag. Damon, let's go to the mailbag.
My mailbox, always something interesting in my mailbox. I try to get to everything in my mailbox, and then once in a while there's a letter that makes me go wow, wow. My mailbox. All
right, let's get to it. First question comes from Nathaniel Kosher. Nathaniel asks, what are the odds of Elvis Andrus making the opening day roster? Jesse, talk to us about our newest member of the Arizona Diamondbacks.
I think Elvis Andrus belongs in kind of the Evan Longoria category of player for me, where he's had a extended and very impressive major league career. Like, not quite a Hall of Famer, but the guy has 2,000 hits. I think he's like the active hits leader or something like that.
That's amazing.
And I mean, you look at his 2023 numbers with the Chicago White Sox, 251, 304, 358 was his slash line. He's still 12 bases, which is pretty impressive to me now at 35 years old.
Us old guys can get it done.
Yeah, I guess so.
Don't get it twisted. Us old guys can get it done.
I'm impressed, but I think he certainly has plenty of shortstop experience. No shortage of shortstop experience for Elvis Andrus. Last year, he kind of split time at shortstop and second base, but his defensive metrics at short were still pretty decent. And I mean, I didn't have him in my opening day roster projection yesterday. I updated it after the move, but I was tempted to. Like, I think it is. I would not at all be surprised to see Elvis Andrus make the opening day roster as the backup shortstop. I'm going to need to see him in games. I'm going to need to see a little bit more before I make a final push in that direction. But I mean, the Diamondbacks clearly made this move because they want another option in this backup shortstop race. And on paper, I think his case is as compelling as anyone else's.
He's the vet that they have essentially going for this, which they don't really have a veteran infielder right now that's kind of fighting for the job.
Yeah. I mean, Kevin Newman's been around for a little while, but not nearly as long as Elvis Andrus. That's for sure.
All right. Well, here's what Tori had to say about the new addition to the Arizona Diamondbacks.
To be honest with you, it crossed my plate a couple days ago, and when I was asked, I just thought he was a very good player who's done it at a high level, and he's still, some of the metrics and numbers that were looked at still says he's playing at that high level. Jeff Bannister had a history with him with Texas. He's been in the big stage at the biggest moments, and he's performed. And we're always looking to upgrade it in every position. And he's played a very good shortstop. So it's clear that he's here to go and show us what he could do at shortstop and second base. But we're just excited about the guy who happens to be a really good baseball player.
I know the knowledge doesn't happen through osmosis, right? It's not like you stick the veteran in the middle of all of the young, talented, athletic guys and it just leaks into them. But
sure,
I mean, there's something to be said about like the knowledge passed on. I mean, we've even heard it from like Slade, who was talking about Merrill Kelly showing him the grip. We've heard this from other guys that have said like being around Tommy Pham and being around Evan Longoria was a big help to them, right? And not just when it came to card collecting. So I think there's something to be said about the experience that he can bring. But
yeah,
I know we're going to talk about it, but Tim in the chat says we want Blaze Alexander. And I think with the way Blaze has been playing, he definitely makes a compelling case for that backup role.
The case for Blaze is compelling, no doubt. We talked a lot about him on the show last week. The main hang up, I think, with Blaze Alexander is, are the Diamondbacks willing to put him in a role in the majors where he's not playing every day? It's pretty clear that they're not willing to do that with Jordan Lawler. They want him to play every day. And from what I've heard, it sounds like they have a pretty similar view on Blaze Alexander, that they want him to play every day as well. I don't personally agree with that decision necessarily, if that's indeed kind of how they're viewing things. I think at this point, Blaze has kind of shown what he's going to show in AAA, and he's had a great spring, and he's a good defender. And I think he's if you're just asking me like who would be the best option for the Diamondbacks in terms of like how I would expect them to perform, Blaze Alexander is maybe at the top of that list.
Yeah.
If he's just in a role where he's facing lefties and, backing up at some various infield positions, I like what he could bring there. But if the D-backs want him to play every day, it's probably not going to be Blaze Alexander.
This is a Blaze Alexander Standcast, just to let you guys know that. We are big fans of Blaze Alexander and think that he is going to be a very good Major League Baseball player. I think that's the feeling with him where, like Jesse says, I don't necessarily agree with leaving him in AAA either. Because what are we doing anymore? I mean, it feels like he's been there forever. It feels like he's been in the system forever. And at this point, he's playing at a level that looks like he's ready to make that leap to the major leagues. And I think that what I fear is that he is becoming too much of an asset, but they're not going to utilize him. So then he becomes part of some trade. And then again, I keep talking about this. It's over and over, but we're going to see him just rake somewhere else, and it's going to be infuriating. He's going to become like this. It's going to become like Jazz. I mean, just Blaze Alexander. Just the name Blaze Alexander is like Jazz Chisholm. It's just one of those names. It's going to be a huge superstar. All right, we've talked about things that are nice enough. Let's panic. Let's go to the next question there, Damon. Next question comes from our guy Gabriel at Bold as Bronze on Twitter, and he says, at which point during spring training do we start to sound the alarms for certain underperforming guys? My initial reaction is never. My initial reaction is it's spring training. My initial reaction is even if they have a slow start in the first couple of weeks of April, I still don't want to overreact to anything, good or bad. But that's not really what I do. What I really do at my core is overreact about everything all the time, no matter what. So yes, I want to overreact about Eduardo Rodriguez's 2 starts in which he has not looked very good. I want to overreact about his 15.75 ERA or whatever the hell it is. 15.75 ERA. He did have 4 strikeouts against the Brewers, and I thought that was pretty good. But I think for the most part, I think I understand people wanting to panic. I understand people wanting to see a guy come in here, be excited about him, have Jesse throw a curse on him and say he's just like Madison Bumgarner, then you start seeing him perform like that.
Never once did I say
who
that.
do we blame this on? It's Jesse, right? And then I'm here going, yeah, it's absolutely Jesse. Let's get him. And that's where we might be at. But not yet. Let's calm down. Of course, it is just spring. And I mean, the one thing is that the results don't matter for someone like Eduardo Rodriguez, who really isn't fighting for a spot. You would like to see him perform better, obviously. Like everybody would like to see him perform better. And I think that there's some things he obviously can do to get himself, ready. That's what the purpose of spring is. But I don't think it's time to overreact just yet.
Yeah, I would say I would lean toward never also being my answer to this.
The entire spring training.
So there are some things in spring training that I do think matter, and specifically with pitchers, I think it is easier to detect these things. If a pitcher in spring training is throwing 5 miles an hour slower than they did the year prior or something, that's a story. Like that is a development. If their pitches are clearly not moving the way that they did, or some kind of mechanical adjustment isn't working, there are things that I pay attention to in spring training that I think are important to look at. What we've seen from Eduardo Rodriguez, though, is not concerning to me really at all. The location hasn't been great so far in his 2 outings, but also like Brandon Pfaadt's location wasn't very good today, and neither was Tommy Henry's. And it's spring training. Like these guys are still working to really find their groove in terms of their command and just finding a rhythm on the mound and getting to the point where they want to be. I go back just like the question at large, like at what point do you worry about spring training results? I go back to an example from last season. Ketel Marte had a fantastic season for the Diamondbacks. In spring training, he went 6 for 32 and had an OPS under 600. Like, spring training results just don't really matter. There are certain things with pitchers that I do look at, but from what we've seen from Eduardo Rodriguez, the stuff looks fine. The velo looks fine. I'm not really concerned at all about him right now.
He was throwing all 5 of his pitches on against the Brewers, and like you said, I mean, some of his forcing fastball locations were fairly terrible.
Yeah, and he's always been a guy where, like, if he throws fastballs right down the middle, bad things are going to happen for Eduardo Rodriguez. He's not going to overpower you
down the middle too. Yeah, he really did. His location definitely was not great. And again, there is talk about you putting witchcraft on him, but
there's talk of me being the Steve Bartman of the Diamondbacks.
That's what people are saying.
Which is a wild accusation.
But yeah, no, I mean, of course, that's a big thing. No, it's not time to panic. It would be time to panic if the Diamondbacks were contemplating signing Madison Bumgarner. Then it would be time to panic. They're in a great position right now, and of course, we'll see him. We'll see him get comfortable and get into a groove. I think for sure. I'm fairly certain that the Domino's table in the clubhouse is his, right?
Is it? Yeah.
There's an incredible Venezuelan domino table in the middle of the clubhouse, so I'm 90% sure it's his. All right, let's go on to our next question. Next question comes from Cogs. Cogs asks, Zach Wheeler just got extended 3 years, $126 million. If Zac Gallen did the same thing next offseason, what do you think the numbers look like? Well, I got to say, Zach Wheeler has been very, very good for the Philadelphia Phillies in the postseason. And that's something that I think, obviously is a big reason why they signed him and extended him to that amount. But if this is what a Zac Gallen extension looks like, then give me this.
Yeah, 3 years, $126 million. Zach Wheeler got a $42 million AAV, which is very, very high. But you can understand why. If you were to ask, most like serious baseball analysts right now to list their top 5 starting pitchers in the game, Zach Wheeler would probably be on that list. He has been extremely consistent. The deal that he signed with the Phillies, I think it was like 5 years, $118 million or something like that. He's coming to the end of that deal. That deal might be the best free agent contract for a starting pitcher ever. I know it's still $20 million a year, but he has been, one of the best few starting pitchers in the league over that span.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, in terms of, I think he and Zac Gallen are in pretty different points. Wheeler is at different points in their career. Wheeler is 34 years old. Zac Gallen will be 30 when he hits free agency. So I think with Gallen, the AAV is probably a little bit lower. But you're talking about significantly more years. You're probably talking about, 6 or 7 years. We just saw Aaron Nola do the 7-year, $172 million thing. Zac Gallen clearly has a better track record than Nola does.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, it's probably 6-7 years, and it's probably north of $30 million a year, and it's probably into the $200 million range. Yeah.
That's why it's double the amount. All right. What next question we got from Michael? Michael says, do we need to temper our expectations on Brandon Pfaadt? I feel like people are expecting him to pitch like an ace because of last October, but I feel like the actual Pfaadt is somewhere between that and what he was during the regular season, which I know is a very wide berth. And yeah, that's fair, I would say. Yeah. I'd say that you answered your own question, Michael, there, because what you said there, I'm sure, is how we feel. Like Brandon Pfaadt definitely... And that's the reason why it might feel like a little bit of a disappointment when he pitches if he's not that guy from the playoffs last year, which there's a good chance he's not going to be. We talked earlier about how Pfaadt did an excellent job at kind of using some of the aggressive hitting against him to his advantage. Batters are going to be far more patient during the regular season. And, of course, it all depends on if he can keep that up. Like, I don't expect to see, Ketel, Marte, and Brandon Pfaadt performing the way they did in the postseason. So I think that's going to be kind of it's a little bit of a letdown, but it's still to be expected. Like you said, the real Brandon Pfaadt is a little bit in between where he was in the playoffs and some of what he was early on.
Yeah. I think the middle ground is totally where I would land here. I think even when Brandon Pfaadt first came up, the people who are high on him weren't necessarily saying frontline starting pitcher, like ace starting pitcher. That was a question I got in my written mailbag last month. Like how high is his ceiling? Could he really be an ace in this league? And I wouldn't close the door on maybe that being possible with some adjustments like we talked about earlier. But yeah, I think a mid-rotation starter, a guy who is durable, who can give you 180 plus innings. Like I think that could be Brandon Pfaadt's greatest asset, just being able to go out there and eat innings. And have those innings be pretty good. Like he had a 4.22 ERA in the second half of the season. He continued that success into the postseason. There's a ton of value to be had in a guy who's, close to 200 innings and ERA right around 4. Maybe it gets down into the mid 3s at some point. I think that could be within the realm of his talent level as well.
I think what's key for Brandon Pfaadt is, again, they've talked about how coachable he is and how willing he is to listen to someone like Brent Strom. Now, Brent Strom's not going to be his pitching coach forever, but I do feel like the adjustments are going to continue to need to be made. And the way that his adjustments helped him find that success last year, I think, is going to be key. He's going to still need to continue to develop. He's still a young guy. We still don't know his true identity, but we just know that he has a hell of a sweeper. We know that if he can get that changeup working, he could be pitching like a number 2 starter for sure. And he's going to be a valuable piece of the Diamondbacks rotation probably for years to come. I would see them more likely extending Brandon Pfaadt than I would see them extending Zac Gallen at this point. That's unfortunate, but I feel like that's probably a little more accurate. All right, what else we got? Oh no, Thunderbolt 47 is here. Oh man.
Thunderbolt 47 loves himself a doomsday podcast, right?
He's saying it's doom. All right, Travis Moore at Moore for me says, how is Blaze Alexander not the best option for backup middle if infielder on the opening day roster? Was a scenario where this team keeps him long term? Obviously, Lawler is the future shortstop. But Blaze seems to be rounding into a good asset. And I know we touched on this quite a bit earlier, but again, I think it's like Jesse said, it really comes down to if the front office wants Blaze Alexander to get regular at-bats, he is going to be in Reno. If they are okay with him being a backup and playing that backup infielder role at several different positions, then I could very well see him making the opening day roster. Right now, again, all signs point to them not being super satisfied with their options right now at backup infielder. And that might include Blaze, but that might not be because they're unsatisfied with his play. That just might be because they intend on not having him on the main roster if he's not going to play every day.
Yeah, we talked about this the other day. His strikeout rate in AAA last year was on the higher end, 27.2% last year in AAA, which is fairly high.
Yeah.
I think that's something that ideally you would want to see that number lower. I don't necessarily view Blaze Alexander as a Jordan Lawler level prospect. I think they're in two very different classes, at least right now for me. But yeah, it goes back to what kind of opportunity do the Diamondbacks have to see in the majors for them to be willing to pull the trigger on Blaze Alexander? And, especially with Jordan Lawler there as well. Like last year, they went to Jordan Lawler before they went to Blaze Alexander. Would they do that again this year? Would they call up Jordan Lawler and then Blaze Alexander's turn would come after that?
That's a good question.
I don't know the answer to that.
I hope he does, though. And I really do like him as a player. I think he is going to be a very good ball player. But again, just depends on if they can get him those at-bats. Michael says in the chat, unless there's a path for Blaze to get 20 plate appearances a week, keep him in Reno. And
it's a valid perspective. I get it.
It's so weird because I guess baseball is one of the rare sports where that's the case. And that's typically why there's a problem with seeing those young stars come up, right? Like it's they get blocked by guys that are on the team on the major league roster that they kind of wait to either move on from or, again, like in this case, I think the Diamondbacks are looking at a lot of these guys as depth pieces. As the season goes on, they don't have very much depth at some of these positions, and they may need to call on these young guys to come up and step into that role. I just think that, Blaze does mean enough to them that could be the reason why they're not considering him for that role. And that could be why, much like Brandon Pfaadt last year, like you said, no matter how good he does in spring, might not win him a spot just because right now they don't want him to just be in a backup role.
Yeah, I mean, in a sense, that viewpoint means that they think very highly of him, right?
Yeah.
If the Diamondbacks felt that Blaze Alexander was a utility kind of backup shortstop, then call him up now because there's an opening for a utility guy backup shortstop right now. But if you believe that Blaze Alexander has a chance to be, an everyday player, like a real force in this league as an everyday player, then you would want him to go back down and kind of, refine his hit tool a little bit. So it's a compliment in him in many ways if that's the route the Diamondbacks take.
Well, on our diehard member only Discord, which is the best place to be an Arizona Diamondbacks fan, we were discussing all the future bets that you can get down on Major League Baseball right now. You can get Jordan Lawler right now for National League Rookie of the Year. You can get a lot of these guys.
A little bullish. How much money
Corbin
I'd be putting
Carroll
on that.
on MVP?
I would put. I mean, I can't bet on these things.
Ketel,
I would
Marte
put
MVP?
more. I would be much more comfortable putting money on Corbin Carroll winning MVP than. Well, I don't know. Jordan Lawler, Rookie of the Year versus Corbin Carroll MVP. I don't feel particularly strongly about either one, I guess is what I would say.
Well, whether you do or don't want to actually put those bets down, you can get down on the BetMGM Sportsbook app or have one of your friends do it for you and just wink. Don't worry about it. Anyway, download the Sportsbook app, though, of course, and get down on a deposit offer if you deposit and sign up using our code of PHNX and deposit at least $5 into your newly created account and bet that amount on a standard odds price. You will receive $150 in bonus bets regardless of the outcome of your wager. Sign up now for BetMGM and use that bonus code of PHNX. Don't miss out on all of those MLB future bets and all the wonderful stuff that's going on. Of course, basketball season has a month left. Things are heating up there. The Suns need to get their shit together, but that's a whole other thing. But yeah, get down right now. Sign up for BetMGM. Use bonus code PHNX. Place your first BetMGM sportsbook wager through the Sportsbook mobile application for at least $5. You'll receive $150 instantly in additional winnings, regardless of your wager's outcome. Check out the show notes for full details. And now listen to Damon talk about the disclaimer.
Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. Available in the U.S. Call 877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY 467-369 New York. Call 1-800-327-5050 Massachusetts. 21 plus to wager. Please gamble responsibly. Call 1-800-NEXT-STEP Arizona. 1-800-BETS-OFF Iowa. 1-800-270-7117 for confidential help Michigan. 1-800-981-0023 Puerto Rico in partnership with Kansas Crossing Casino and Hotel. Visit BetMGM.com for terms. This promotional offer is not available in New York, Nevada, Ontario, or Puerto Rico.
Puerto Rico.
Beautiful. All right. Four Peaks, by the way. Got some wonderful Four Peaks beers over here waiting for me. Four Peaks, new year, new beer. They have themselves a Bad Birdie Juicy Golden Ale. This wonderful collaboration between Four Peaks and our friends at Bad Birdie is super drinkable, and it is the perfect companion at the tee box or in your fridge. It is golf time. It is time. Right now is the one time of the year where you can go out at 11 and it still is nice out to go golfing. But don't get it twisted. That's going to be over very soon. So make sure while you can, you enjoy this wonderful Bad Birdie Juicy Golden Ale out there. And of course, we know those hours are only going to get earlier and earlier, but enjoy it while you're out there golfing. Of course, visit fourpeaks.com/locator to find all of your favorite beers and events, and check out at Four Peaks Brewer at Four Peaks Pub. Keep up with the latest Arizona's hometown brewery. Must be 21 or older to drink Four Peaks, and please drink responsibly. Also, make sure to check out the Chicken Tendies. We are the Chicken Tendies gang over here at
I
the
would
PHNX
kill for
D-backs
some
podcast.
Chicken Tendies right
Jesse's
now, Derek.
starving right now.
So good.
Yeah, someone in the press box had him behind me, and I stood there for a moment and just stared at their Chicken Tendies because those weren't Four Peaks chicken tendies. Yeah, those were just regular old chicken tendies. But of course, we do have more Mailbag Monday questions. Let's get to those. Damon, what else we got? All right. Chris asks, it's been a minute since we discussed grass versus turf. How are we feeling about the outfield at Chase Field? Which other yards are turf in MLB? Does going back and forth affect players? All things fields, discuss. She just said, hey, here, let me give you a topic. Go ahead and discuss. And then she leaves the room. I don't know. I mean, I think that there have been some pretty good advancements in the turf. I still don't like Chase Field having turf. It's not great, especially when you're out at Camelback Ranch today and you see that luscious green grass that they have out there.
Real grass is beautiful.
Oh, it's absolutely gorgeous. It's absolutely gorgeous. So yeah, from that perspective, I mean, we already play inside of an airplane hangar, right? And it's do we also have to have just that turf carpeting down as well?
I think it's because you play in an airplane hangar that you have to have the turf carpeting.
It looked really bad there, though, before they made the decision to go back to the turf. I mean, some of those outfield areas where they stood all the time, they were just awful. They went from being yellow grass to just kind of being brown spots out there.
Yeah, which is understandable. Like the Diamondbacks clearly made the right decision to go to turf if in fact like maintaining the grass was just impossible, which it at least appeared to be.
The
Diamondbacks are not alone in having turf. A quick search of the interwebs reveals that Globe Life Field, our favorite ballpark out in Texas, also has artificial turf. I saw that with my own eyes. I believe
that one's a shed.
I believe it is a shed. I believe their turf is either identical to the Diamondbacks or very, very similar. Certainly looked similar up close.
It's wild up close, because it looks like it's growing out of the ground. And when you see them fix a hole, they it's not like a square piece of like sod that they put down. They take it out of a bucket with a shovel. Yeah, like they shovel it into the spot. Like it's weird, but yeah, they definitely. That's the reason why it looks so natural, I guess you could say. But with time, it's artificial. It's going to look gross. They're not going to replace it all. They're not going to pull it all up and put new stuff. I don't know. Maybe they do, because they do pull all of the dirt and everything up for, concerts and stuff. So maybe, I mean, that's a big part of it. I don't know. I can imagine the cost was astronomical for them to try to keep growing grass in that building.
Yeah, I mean, anyone who lives in Arizona and tries to maintain their lawn in the summer knows that it's a I mean, it almost doesn't matter how much you water the stuff. It doesn't work.
My friend Tim, and not the Tim in the chat telling me I look 20 years older today than I did yesterday. Different Tim. He shames me all the time for the fact that I simply have grass, because he knows that with my grass being as green as it is, especially in like May and June, that I am using a ton of water in order to do that.
That's fair.
And he is not wrong about that. I am using an embarrassing amount of water, but he has a pool, and then I get back at him with that, and then we kind of go back and forth. Neither of us are trying to save the earth, and that's the way it works out. But I will say that growing grass, they have like sci-fi space age grass, Jesse. Do you ever see these infomercials where they like put it on like concrete blocks and put a little water on it and it grows on the concrete block? Like, don't weird. Tell me you can't find some sort of science fiction-y grass to grow in there that'll work just fine. I'm sure it'll. Yeah, Michael's right. Grass is a money sink out here. He's not wrong. All right, that's pretty much what we have for you. Do players get hurt going back and forth between these? I mean, I don't think so, but science doesn't necessarily. I would think science would reveal that. Like, they are putting a lot of money into these athletes, and I don't think that they would, especially a team, willingly make their own home turf if it wasn't safe. You know what I mean? Like, I'm sure that there probably is some sort of opportunity there, because it's not a natural material for there to be possibly more injuries, but I really can't imagine that that's a thing.
Yeah, there is a quote from 2019 where Ketel Marte says some negative things about the turf in terms of like it like taking a toll or whatnot. It certainly plays different than regular grass does and feels different if you're out there playing defense every day. The other thing that I'll say is that I guess it's sort of a continuation of that. It plays different in that when you're playing defense on turf, the ball is just going to move differently than it does on grass. And so you see turf as actually being a significant part of teams' park factors. If you like switch up from grass to turf or whatever, you switch up the kind of turf, then it will play differently. It will either be, easier to hit extra base hits or harder or whatnot. So it definitely does have an impact on the game.
All right, let's get our next question here. And next question comes from D-backs UK Western, Thomas Eastgate on Twitter. And he says, to Derek, triple your wagers or dinner night out with Corbin Carroll.
Triple your wages or dinner. Oh, wow.
I don't know. That's a tough one. I do love money, but I might love Corbin Carroll more. Here's the thing. Does the night out guarantee that Corbin and I are friends now? Like, do we kick it? Did I exchange phone numbers with him, and can I text him at midnight and just say, what are you thinking about? And like, he's going to be cool with it. Like, is that the kind of thing? Because I feel like that's where triple my wages.
Yeah, I would definitely triple my wages.
Yeah, I know. You're not allowed to be friends with him. You're just not allowed. Your job doesn't allow you to be friends with him.
My job doesn't really allow me.
My job's much different than your job.
Yeah, I can't really like go have dinner with Corbin Carroll, but I can.
You've
like,
had
still
dinner with
interact
Torey
with him.
Lovello. Have you not had dinner with Torey Lovello?
I had breakfast with Torey
That's
Lovello.
the same thing, basically.
And it was a group breakfast. It wasn't a one-on-one.
All right, well that's a little
different.
Yeah, that's a little.
You going to Bacanora with Corbin Carroll, Derek?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Somewhere fancy.
Yeah. Chico Malo. Maybe. What's that one? I don't know. I don't know.
It's a mezcal
fancy
type of night.
Yeah. Oh yeah. We're gonna mix it up. We're gonna go end up over there at like we're over there on like Roosevelt, right? Over Roosevelt Row. We'll end up at like Wilderness and stuff. It's gonna be a great night. Yeah. No, I'm taking the money. I'll take the money. Thank you very much. Moving on. Next question comes from Ryan Hanley, and Ryan wants to know what ingredients are you using to make. What 4? And he's only giving us 4 ingredients.
Yeah, this is pretty tough.
What
I'm gonna need
4
about 6.
ingredients are you using to make the perfect burrito? That's easy.
Is it?
Yeah.
I mean, so meat is clearly one of them.
And carne
so
asada is the answer there. It's carne asada. It's guacamole.
Yeah.
It's pico de gallo. It's cilantro. It's called a carne asada burrito, and it is the God's gift to mankind, and that is already the perfect burrito. So
I'll give you 4.
That's how easy it was.
What do you got?
Burritos,
Dan?
buddies, beers, illegal Pete's. That's 4 for you right there, Derek. Bang.
Oh, I don't have that ad read today. I don't think you're allowed to do that. See, that's where he spends all his time. I told you he spends all his time there. Jesse, what are your 4 ingredients?
Yeah, I don't know. Can we get some rice in there? Can we like
rice?
I need some cheese.
Rice.
I need
rice. We gave you a choice of anything to put in your burrito, and you put in the filler that they put in there just to make the burrito bigger. Do you want refried beans in there while you're at it with your rice?
I was gonna request refried beans, but I guess I won't now. I also like sour cream in general.
Sour cream is solid.
Sour cream is good. But yeah, I feel like there just isn't room. There just is. If we only have 4 ingredients, then the meat is obviously really important. And I don't know, does the tortilla count in this equation?
No, it can't count. It's 4 ingredients inside of the burrito. Like the burrito. It being a burrito,
tortilla is separate.
Is separate. Yeah, that's
okay.
Yeah.
So guacamole has to be in there. That's
what protein
clear.
did you choose? Did you pick a protein or did you say meat? You don't even care. It's just whatever meat you have.
Carne asada would probably be my choice too. I'm a pretty big carne asada fan. Yeah,
we're on the same page about some things. But Damon,
what if I did? Or is this what you did? No, I guess it's a little different. If I did carne asada, guacamole, sour cream, and pico de gallo.
Okay, all right. Now I'm down. I'm down for that burrito.
So it's just meat and then just like a bunch of slop on top, right?
That's fantastic. That's fantastic. I need to make a stop at Filiberto's now on the way home. All right. What else we got? Ryan, our guy Ryan. Oh no, Caesar. Caesar says, do you think the D-backs will be above or below 90 wins this season? And that's CFM_AZ. That's a great question. Because that's right there, right? That is that's right where the Diamondbacks are at. Are they going to be over or under 90 wins? Like it feels like under is the way to go. That feels like the safe way to go. But I'm taking the over. I'm smashing the over.
I think betting lines for the Diamondbacks are more in like the low mid 80s. I think like 83.5 is one number that I've seen.
Yeah.
I would take the over on 83.5.
But you're not taking the over on 90?
Don't know if I'd take the over on 90.
I'm all over that. 83.5?
Yeah.
The over on 83.5 I think would be a solid bet. The over on 90 though, I would probably have to lean under on 90.
The back end of this team is so much stronger than it was last season, and they still reach that total.
Yeah.
Give me the over all day long.
And even last year felt like an underachievement, right? Because of the way that July went and things like that. Like you felt like this team should have maybe come close to winning 90 games last year, right? But they kind of faltered, and luckily, with some help, they made it into the playoffs, but they almost didn't, and that's important to remember.
We had awful offensive production from like your corner infield spot at third base and your DH spot, which is just not right. It's not easy to survive offensively with those two positions struggling like they did.
Yeah,
should be a big improvement.
It's a fair point. Yeah, they certainly got better in certain areas, and I think their floor is definitely raised based on all the additions they made. They have more depth in a pretty much any situation. If they were to lose someone, I feel better about the depth they have this year than they did last year.
Madison Bumgarner was a part of this team to start the year last year.
There were also, yes, that is another factor where there are players that were on this team last year that were very poor, right? I mean, that just we're not good.
He's rich, but he means that in a different way.
Thank you for clarifying that.
I just needed to let them know. Madison Bumgarner
money for Madison Bumgarner is
very
not
rich.
a
He's
problem.
going to get $14 million for doing nothing this year.
That's a good point. But yeah, just the general, teams lose a lot of games by playing like veteran players for too long, right? Just kind of holding on to veteran players and hoping they can find their way. It's not to say this team is immune from that. There are some veteran players here as well. You don't really know what's going to happen until you see it, but they seem less prone to that than they were last year.
Well, I do know what's going to happen this weekend, and that is out at the Phoenix Raceway.
Oh.
We're going to have the Shriners Children's 500, and we are going to be out there. We're going to be enjoying ourselves. We're going to be having a great time, and the Valley of the Sun is going to roar to life when NASCAR returns to the Phoenix Raceway. The best in-class fan experience meets racing's toughest drivers for 3 days of action, all surrounded by the beautiful Australia Mountains out there. So make sure to join us. Come on out. Get your tickets at the Shriners Children's 500 at Phoenix Raceway, March 8th through the 10th. And it promises a weekend of good vibes for the whole family. Get your reserved grandstand tickets now at phoenixraceway.com. Also, another great place to get all of your sporting tickets for concerts, sports, events, all that stuff is our friends at Game Time. You can, of course, check out Game Time's very aesthetically pleasing app and, of course, get some of the lowest ticket prices on games last minute. That's the biggest thing, right? You want to go to the spring training games. Sometimes you get that call 45 minutes before first pitch. This is the place to get your tickets. Snag the tickets without the stress with Game Time. Download the app, create an account, and use code PHNX for $20 off your first purchase. Terms do apply. Again, create an account and redeem code PHNX for $20 off. Download Game Time today. Last minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed. Let's see. Tim wants to know, when does Mena pitch next? No, we don't.
That I do not. I do not have an
know
answer.
Everything. Stop acting like Jesse. Let me ask Jesse, because Jesse doesn't know everything. Stop it.
Mena is not. I don't view him as a realistic candidate to make the team. So I don't know how much. I mean, it's not to say he couldn't pitch in a spring training game, but he's not necessarily going to be pitching on a super regular schedule like some of the other guys. So if I get any information on that, then I'll be sure to tweet it out or whatnot.
Mena, he just wants to see Mena throw 96 miles an hour and make the Chicago White Sox fans sad. Again,
today would have been a great day to throw him.
That would have been
against his former team. We did see Dominic Fletcher take a couple of at bats today.
We also saw Tommy Troy take his first
big
league at bat. We didn't get a chance to talk about that. He did strike out, but he did take some pitches and looked good out there.
He did it stylistically.
He did.
He
looked good doing it. He struck out, but he looked good doing it. Of course, we hope you guys enjoyed us looking good doing this show. We thank you, of course, for stopping by. You can follow us on Twitter. I am at @cap_caveman with a K. Jesse is at Jesse N. Friedman. Of course, the people's producer is back. He is Damon. We are Damon's dogs. Bark, bark.
Bark.
Of course, you can follow him at Damon Dog. That's DAWG. Our show is at PHNX_DBacks, but all roads do lead to at PHNX_sports on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. We thank you guys again for your time. We appreciate you stopping by. We'll be back tomorrow for another post-game recap of tomorrow's spring training game. So make sure to join us right here at 6 o'clock. In the meantime, you behave yourselves. Have yourselves a great night. Again, thank you for stopping by. And remember, kids, baseball is fun, but it's so much more fun when you don't panic about spring training games.
We all silly like the mayor.